In the cold galaxy of Velmara, where stars burned blue and planets floated like scattered pearls, there was a princess no one had ever truly seen. Her name was Princess Zara. She was born into the royal bloodline of the House of Velmara, powerful, respected, feared. But Zara lived her entire life behind a silver veil. No alien, no suitor, not even her royal guards had seen her face. This was the law of her people. The princess would remain masked until the day of her soul bond. Only the one who truly loved her, who understood her heart, without needing her face, could see her for the first time after the bond was complete. Many tried. Dozens of noble aliens from high houses came to Velmara. They wore bright armor, carried gifts made of starlight, and spoke grand words. But when they were told, "You must bond with the princess without seeing her face," their smiles faded. Some laughed, thinking it a trick. Others grew angry, calling it madness. A few even insulted. "Zara, how can anyone bond with someone they can't see?" They asked. "What if she is hideous? What if she is not even real?" They always left. Zara remained in her tall palace tower, alone and quiet. Her voice was soft, her heart was tired. "No one will ever see me," she whispered to the stars. One night, sitting near her window, veil catching the moonlight, but fate is strange. Far across the galaxy, on the edge of a war-torn border, a human soldier named Eli was lost. His ship had been damaged in a battle. The engine was gone, the comms broken. He drifted through space, unconscious, until a Velmaran patrol ship found him. He was brought to the capital city and placed under watch. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Some Velmarans called them wild, unpredictable. But Eli did not act wild. He was quiet, respectful, and curious. He asked questions about the palace, the stars, the strange customs. One day, he heard the story of the masked princess. He listened carefully. Then, without thinking, he said, "That's not strange. That's kind of beautiful." The court advisors laughed. "You don't even know her," one said. "Would you bond with a face you cannot see?" Eli smiled slightly. "I don't bond with a face, I bond with a person." His answer traveled through the palace like fire. When Zara heard it, she stopped. Walking, for the first time in many years, her heart beat fast. She whispered to her maid, "Bring him to me. I want to hear his voice." Eli was summoned. He expected guards, questions, maybe jail. Instead, he was led into a large chamber with glowing walls, soft music in the air, and a throne at the center. On that throne sat Princess Zara, her veil glowing softly under the light. Eli did not bow. He stood still and looked at her with calm eyes. "You asked for me?" he said. Zara nodded. "Yes, I wanted to ask, why did you say those words? About bonding without seeing." Eli thought for a second. "Because I've seen many beautiful faces," he said, "but not many. Beautiful souls, faces lie, souls don't." Zara didn't reply. But she smiled behind her veil. They talked for an hour. Then 2. Then 3. Eli spoke of Earth, its green oceans, tall trees, and music. Zara told stories of the stars, of her dreams, of her fear of being unseen forever. He never asked to see her face. Not once. When Eli left the chamber that night, the royal guards whispered to each other. "The human is strange," one said. He didn't ask for her face, her hand, or her title. But Zara knew. For the first time in her life, someone had seen her without looking, and that changed everything. The next evening, the palace gardens were empty, except for one figure under the twin moons. Princess Zara stood alone, her silver veil glowing softly in the wind. She had not stepped outside at night for years. But tonight, something felt different. Her chest felt lighter. Her mind, calmer. And in her heart, a question repeated like a quiet whisper. Does he really mean it? Eli, the human, was led into the gardens not knowing what to expect. He didn't wear fancy robes or jewelry. Just a plain jacket with an old Earth badge on the sleeve. Zara didn't speak at first. Neither did he. They stood facing each other, a soft breeze passing between them. The garden lights flickered like fireflies, casting long shadows. Then, Zara broke the silence. "You still haven't asked to see my face," she said softly. Eli looked at her, calm and honest. "Why would I ask something that isn't being offered?" He replied, "I came because I like talking to you, that's all." Zara felt her breath catch. No one had ever said that to her. Not without wanting something in return. "I don't know why you trust me," she whispered. "Because you sound like someone who's been judged too long," Eli answered, stepping closer. "And I know what that feels like." She tilted her head. "You? A soldier?" Eli gave a quiet laugh. "I wasn't always a soldier. Back home, I was just a mechanic's son. Poor, dirty hands. People laughed at me when I said I wanted to fly ships. They called me worthless." Zara listened carefully. Her fingers trembled at her side. "Did you prove them wrong?" "No," Eli said with a shrug. "I just stopped trying to prove anything. I flew anyway, for myself. Not for them." A long silence followed, but it wasn't awkward. It was soft, like two souls recognizing something. Familiar in each other, Zara finally sat on the edge of a low stone fountain. She looked up. "Do you want to know the truth about my veil?" Eli raised an eyebrow. "Only if you want to tell me." She nodded slowly. "It's not just tradition," she said. "It's fear. When I was a child, my face was called too different. Not ugly, not beautiful, just different. So the elders decided I should stay veiled, to protect me. But I know they were ashamed." Eli sat across from her, on the grass. "Do you think your face is something to hide?" "No," Zara said, her voice a bit stronger now. "But I don't think it's the part of me I want to be loved for." Eli nodded. "Then you already know your worth." At that moment, something deep inside Zara shifted, not because of his words, but because he wasn't trying to save her. He was just listening. In the palace windows above, silent watchers observed everything. Nobles and guards whispered in corners. Some were curious. Some were furious. One noble in particular, a high-ranking advisor named Velthar, clenched his jaw. "He's getting too close," Velthar muttered. "We can't let a human change her path." But Zara didn't care about politics anymore. As Eli stood up to leave, Zara asked quietly, "Will you come again tomorrow?" He smiled. "Only if you ask," she nodded. "Then, I'm asking." And with that, the human walked away under the moons, leaving the veiled princess alone, but not lonely. For the first time in her life, someone had heard her voice and truly listened. Eli did not know that just by speaking kindly to the princess, he had made enemies. In the upper halls of the royal court, the whispers grew louder. The human visits her daily. He asks for nothing in return. She laughs with him. 2. The nobles of Velmaran. This was dangerous. Humans were not equals. They were wild, unpredictable, too emotional. The idea that one might bond with a royal princess without ever seeing her face was unthinkable. One advisor, High Minister Velthar, had waited years to control Zara's future. He believed the human was a threat to the order of Velmaran, so he made a plan. The next day, Zara waited in the garden like always, but Eli didn't come. Hours passed. No one told her why. Her chest tightened. Her hands began to shake. Something was wrong. Meanwhile, deep beneath the palace, Eli stood alone in a stone arena, surrounded by golden statues and cold watchers. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice echoing. A guard replied, "You've been chosen to face the ritual of truth. If your bond with the princess is genuine, you will pass. If not, you'll never leave this chamber." Eli frowned. Zara didn't ask for this. "She doesn't have to," Velthar's voice echoed from above. "This is the law of bonding." Eli stood still. He didn't want to fight. He didn't even want a throne. He just wanted to talk to Zara, but the floor shifted. Walls began to move. A glowing puzzle appeared in front of him. Symbols floated in the air, alien scripts and memory fragments Zara had shared with him. Only one who listened would know the answer. The trial chamber announced. Eli looked at the puzzle. He remembered Zara's stories, her favorite flower, the star she watched at night, the word she used when she missed her mother. Piece by piece, he solved the puzzle, not with force, but with memory. Then came the second challenge. A hologram of Zara appeared, veiled, quiet, but sad. You must answer without asking her face, name, or future, the voice commanded. What is she to you? Eli took a deep breath. She is a mirror. She reflects the parts of me I didn't know. We're good. Silence. Then light filled the chamber. He had passed, but Velther was not pleased. He's clever, he muttered to the guards. But let's see how brave he is when his heart is truly tested. Back in her chamber, Zara finally got the truth. A servant whispered what was done to Eli. Her eyes filled with fire. They forced him into a soul trial, she said, voice sharp. Without my consent? She stormed into the council hall, veil flying behind her. The nobles stood, surprised by her presence. Zara rarely raised her voice. I am the one who chooses. My bond, she said. You have no right to test him without testing me too. Velther spoke calmly. We only wanted to protect you, princess. Zara's words were like ice. Then you should have listened to what I wanted. Later that night, when Eli returned to the garden, tired, sweaty, and confused, he found Zara waiting. I heard what they did to you, she said. I'm sorry. Eli shook his head. I'm just glad you're okay. I didn't care about passing. I just didn't want to lose the chance to speak to you again. Zara stepped closer. She didn't touch him, not yet. But her voice dropped to a whisper. They tested your heart, she said. But they forgot I already knew it was strong. And as the moons rose above them, they sat side by side once more. Quiet, safe, unbreakable. But in the shadows, someone else was watching. And that someone wasn't finished yet. The palace of Velmaran was made of crystal towers and light, but underneath its beauty, it had shadows, and those shadows whispered, while Zara and Eli met quietly in the garden, sharing words like hidden treasures. The nobility of Velmaran grew restless. Some feared scandal, others feared change. But one man feared losing control, High Minister Velther. He had waited years to guide Zara into a political bond with a powerful alien house. That bond would give him power. But now a human, a common soldier from a broken planet, was getting closer to the throne. Velther's pride boiled. She laughs with him, he growled to his spies. She speaks to him more than her own council. This cannot continue. So he began to twist the court. He told the nobles that Eli was dangerous, that the bond was a trick, that humans were known for invasion and manipulation. What if it's all a plot? He asked. What if he's come to steal Velmaran's crown? Fear is a powerful tool, and Velther used it well. He called for an ancient tradition, the public declaration, a ritual where a suitor had to stand before the entire court and speak his heart. No riddles, no secrets, just the truth. If Eli refused, or said the wrong thing, he would be banished from the planet forever. Zara was furious when she heard. You can't force him into this, she told the council. Velther smiled coldly. We only wish to know if his words are real. But Zara saw the trap. This wasn't about truth. It was about shame. The next day, the palace hall was filled. Nobles sat on glowing benches. Alien diplomats watched with interest. The room was silent. Eli stood alone. At the center, no armor, no title. Just a human among giants. Zara watched from behind the silver curtains. Her fingers shook. A deep voice echoed through the hall. "State your purpose, outsider. Why have you come to Velmara? Why speak with the veiled royal? What do you seek?" Eli looked around. He saw judging eyes, cold stares. Some looked at him like he was dirt, others like he was a thief. He took a breath. Then he spoke. "I came here by accident," he began. "I never planned to meet your princess. I didn't even know who she was when we first spoke." Whispers filled the hall. "But I kept speaking to her because she listened. She was curious, brave, honest. She made me forget I was lost in space." He turned toward Zara's hidden spot. "I never asked to see her face because I already saw her soul." And it was enough. A pause. The nobles waited. Maybe they expected him to ask for power or land. But he only said, "I don't seek a throne. I don't need a title. I just don't want to stop hearing her voice." Zara gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. The hall was frozen in silence. Then someone laughed a sharp, cruel laugh. Velthar, a human's love story. He mocked, sweet words for a simple girl. But words are not enough. He clapped his hands. And suddenly, Eli collapsed. He fell to his knees, gasping, sweating. His body shook violently. Zara screamed from behind the curtain. "What did you do?" Velthar replied coldly. The bonding stone was in the room. His words awakened it. "But if his heart is not true, it burns the impure." "Layer!" Zara shouted. She ran forward, tearing away from her guards. She reached Eli, who lay trembling. Her heart pounded. She didn't think. She didn't ask. She just acted. Zara dropped to her knees and touched him. It was the first time she had ever touched someone outside her family. And the moment her hand met his, the room filled with light. The bonding stone, silent for generations, flared white. The entire hall glowed. The nobles fell quiet. Then Zara did something no one expected. She pulled off her veil. Gasps echoed across the chamber. Some covered their eyes. Others stared in awe. Zara's face was not strange, not monstrous. It was beautiful, ethereal. Her skin shimmered like pearl. Her eyes held galaxies. But none of that mattered to Eli. He blinked up at her and whispered, "You're okay. That's all I care about." Zara smiled. "So are you." And as the light of the bonding stone surrounded them both, the court watched in silence, realizing something too late. They didn't just witness a declaration. They witnessed destiny. For a moment, time stopped. The golden hall of Velmara glowed with the light of the bonding stone. Zara's veil lay forgotten on the floor. Her hand was still pressed against Eli's chest, and her face, once hidden from the galaxy, was finally seen. But her eyes weren't on the nobles. They were only on him. Eli lay weak but breathing, his body trembling from the energy surge. The pain was real, but the light had calmed it. "Is this the bond?" he whispered. Zara nodded gently. "It began the moment you said you didn't need to see me." Around them, the nobles whispered, stunned and confused. Some bowed their heads in guilt. Others turned away, ashamed of their doubts. But not all were silent. High Minister Velthar's face was twisted in fury. His plan had failed again. The human was supposed to be crushed, humiliated. Instead, he had awakened a power older than the throne. He turned and stormed out of the chamber, but not before giving a quiet order to one of his hidden guards. "Prepare the poison. If light won't destroy the human, shadow will." Later that night, the palace celebrated the unseen bond for the first time in 1,000 years. The crystal halls were filled with soft music. Lights floated in the air like glowing petals. Servants moved quickly. Nobles wore shimmering robes, and artists painted Zara's unveiled face into the royal scrolls. But Zara wasn't smiling. She stayed by Eli's side. He rested in a quiet garden chamber, the bonding stone beside him still glowing faintly. His body was healing, but slowly. Zara sat beside him, her fingers gently touching the edge of his human hand. "You should have never gone through that." "Pain," she whispered. "They tried to break you." Eli opened one eye. "If that's the price to keep hearing your voice," he said weakly, "then I'd do it again." Zara laughed softly, but tears filled her eyes. The moment was beautiful, but it wouldn't last. Somewhere deep in the palace, a servant dressed in gold entered the garden wing. In his sleeve, a small needle shimmered, tipped with a colorless poison that even bonding energy could not heal. He walked quietly, eyes locked, on the doorway where the human slept. But just as he stepped into the room, Zara looked up. Her eyes met his, and for the first time in her life, her voice turned sharp as thunder. "You do not belong here." The servant froze from behind him. Two guards appeared, real guards, not Velthar's spies. They tackled the man, wrestled the needle from his hand, and dragged him to the royal dungeon. Zara stood tall, veilless, her heart pounding. She now understood. This wasn't just love. It was war. Hours later, Velthar was brought before the High Court, accused of treason, but he did not bow. He laughed. "Do you all think this is love?" he sneered. "You're letting a human corrupt the bloodline. Velmara will fall under his weakness." Zara stepped forward. "You think kindness is weakness?" she said. "Then you've never known true strength." She reached for Eli's hand and helped him rise. The bonding stone between them flared to life again, brighter than before. It floated in the air, spinning slowly, and then cracked open, releasing a spark of raw power. The light filled the hall and struck the throne itself, the old crest of Velmara, the symbol of silence and tradition, faded. A new crest appeared in its place. Two hands, one human, one alien joined by light. The nobles gasped. The elders bowed. Even Velthar, furious and shaking, was speechless. The bonding had not only chosen Zara and Eli. It had rewritten the legacy of the royal house. And in that glowing moment, all knew Velmara would never be the same again. But not all enemies had shown their faces yet. The light from the bonding stone had faded, but the storm it awakened was only beginning. All across Velmara, the royal crest changed overnight. The old symbol of isolation was gone. In its place, the mark of union, human and Velmaran, soul and soul. But even as the galaxy whispered of the princess who revealed her face, Zara sat quietly in her chambers, veil folded in her lap. She stared at it like an old ghost. It had once been her shield, her prison, her lie. And now, it was just cloth. "Am I truly free now?" she whispered to herself. A gentle knock came at her door. She didn't speak, but it opened anyway. Only one person in the palace didn't wait for permission anymore. Ailey stepped in slowly, still recovering. His steps were uneven, but his eyes were full of warmth. "You okay?" he asked softly. Zara looked at him, then looked away. "You've seen my face now," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And everything is different." Eli frowned. "Is that a bad thing?" "I don't know," she admitted. "Part of me thought, if I was ever unmasked, the magic would disappear, the mystery would end. Maybe I'd become ordinary." Ailey sat beside her. "You want the truth?" She nodded. "When I first heard your voice, I felt calm," he said. "When I first listened to your stories, I felt seen. But when I saw your face, Zara, I didn't think about beauty. I thought, she looks like hope." Zara blinked. "Hope? You've lived behind a veil your whole life," he said, "and still had the courage to smile, to dream, to love. That's not mystery. That's strength." Her lips trembled. For the first time in years, she cried without hiding it. Not silent tears in the dark, but real ones. In front of someone who truly saw her. And Eli didn't rush to wipe them away. He just held her hand, quiet, solid, present. "I don't care if others think you're royal," he whispered. "You're real. That's what matters. Meanwhile, far beyond the palace walls, the galaxies responded. Other royal houses sent messages, some curious, some furious. A few accused Velmara of weakening the bloodline. Others whispered of rebellion. But a few voices, small brave ones, spoke in Zara's defense. Young nobles in distant systems. Hidden royals who had also lived behind rules and masks. Maybe this is the change we needed, they said. If she can choose love over image, maybe we can too. The first message Zara received came from a girl on the planet Tavala. She had worn a face mask since birth because of her rare skin glow. Her message was short. I removed my mask today. Because of you. Zara read it 10 times. Back in the throne room, Velthar's trial was postponed. Not because he was innocent, but because Zara no longer cared about punishing him. Let him watch, she told the court. Let him see what true strength looks like. Not in chains but in truth. Velthar stood in silence as she spoke. His pride shattered. His power gone. But he watched. And deep in his heart, something stirred. Not respect, not love, but understanding. He had underestimated her. She wasn't the quiet, hidden girl behind a veiled. She was a queen in full light. That night, Zara and Ile stood on the balcony above the royal city. The sky above was filled with glowing ships. People lit lanterns in the streets, floating them toward the stars. Zara looked up. They see me now, she said. For the first time they see me. Eli smiled, placing his hand over hers. And they'll never forget it. But even as the stars twinkled, Zara felt a strange coldness on the edge of her senses. Like something, or someone, was still watching, waiting. The face had been revealed. The truth had been spoken. But not every heart in the galaxy had accepted it. The final test was still coming. And it wouldn't be a trial of words. It would be a trial of fire. They came without sound. The sky above Velmara turned black as the Velburn Armada arrived. Ancient ships shaped like spinning monoliths hovered above the palace, blocking the stars. They didn't send a message. They didn't ask for surrender. They had one purpose: erase the bond, silence the light, restore the old code. Inside the throne hall, Zara stood in her ceremonial armor, lightweight, silver-lined, and open-faced. She didn't hide anymore, not behind words, not behind silk. Eli stood beside her, wearing only a simple soldier's suit. No crown, no cape. But in his eyes burned something far older than royal blood. Courage. The nobles trembled. The advisors panicked. But Zara raised her hand, silencing the room. They come for me, she said clearly. Because I dared to be seen. Because we dared to love. Eli looked at her. Let them come. We don't run. The ancient bonding stone, cracked, glowing, alive, floated before them. It pulsed with their shared heartbeat. Zahra placed her hand on it. This bond changed us. Let it now protect us. And the stone responded. It exploded with white fire, sending a wave of energy across the sky. For a moment, the Velburn ship shuddered. Their silence broke. The first wave of their attack began. Dark energy rained down. Shields activated. Crystals cracked. The city trembled. But Zara and Elis stood at the palace gates, side by side, facing the incoming fire. They were not warriors by birth, but they had become symbols. As lasers scorched the air, Zara raised her hand again. A shield of bonding energy formed, powered not by weapons, but by love. The people watched in awe as the human and the princess protected their world with nothing but their connection. But then, the final ship descended twice the size of the palace, glowing with violet flame. From it, a Velburn high warden appeared, floating above the ground, cloaked in shadow. You have broken what should never be broken, he boomed. The bond between species defiles the order. Zara stepped forward. And your order is built on silence and fear. Eli added, if your code can't handle love, Maybe it was broken from the start. The warden raised a hand, preparing. A final blast meant to end both of them, but the bonding stone, now pulsing wildly, suddenly floated higher. It spoke for the first time. This bond is pure. This bond is true. And where truth lives, shadow cannot rule. It shattered completely. And from its heart, a beam of light rose to the stars. It wasn't magic. It was truth, made visible. The warden screamed as the light consumed him. One by one, the veil-burned ships turned to ash. Not from violence, but from exposure. The truth had been too powerful. The galaxy watched as the old order fell. And in its place, a new one rose. Weeks later, the palace was rebuilt. Not taller. Not richer, but open. No more masks. No more hidden faces. Zara stood before her people, not as a silent princess, but as a queen of light. And beside her stood Eli, still in simple clothes. Still just a human, but to the galaxy, he had become more than a soldier. He was the one who chose love, without sight. He was the one who stood without a title. He was the one who walked beside her when no one else dared. And so the people called him something new, her human, her king. Not because he ruled, but because he belonged. In the far edges of space, where broken laws drifted like dust, children told the story of the veilless queen and the human who saw her heart first. They didn't tell it as a war story. They told it as a legend of love, of courage, and of the day the galaxy finally opened its eyes.